Welcome to Maximal Being,
a podcast devoted to ditching fad diets and using real science to get you healthy and feeling great.
I'm Doc Mock, a GI and functional medicine doctor who harnesses the power of gut health to get you achieving your goals.
And I'm Jacky P, a well-informed layman who challenges the experts and asks the questions that you want.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a comment.
And now, on to the show.
Can I ask a question for the experts in the room? I find that people get so hung up on finding pleasure in physical things, right? On tactile devices or trinkets. And how do you address that with people and get them to realize that there's so much beauty outside of the physical devices that they can purchase?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, because it comes up a lot, but I love my shoes or I love my whatever. And I am not here to judge the quality of I am here to judge the quality from your perspective, but not from mine. I take pleasure in, walking barefoot outside or putting my feet in the pool or playing with my puppy or, those kind of things. But I don't judge because I don't have a shoe fetish. You know what I mean? Like I have a bacon fetish. And so people may be like, well, that costs money, So that's the first thing. I take the judgment out of it. But I do try and have people tune into how you feel and why. So those things, I need the newest, fanciest, bang, whiz, ding dong technology thing. For example, the new phone, or the new whatever. I want to see, and I can tell, and I can call BS if you're saying, no, I love it. And I'm like, your body's saying you don't really, but check in with that, So I just try and get people to really connect to how they really feel about it, without judgment. Because when you start judging, or when I start putting my own things on it, then people either want to please me, they're like, oh, Wendy said I should do this. And I'm like, no, I didn't. You know what I mean? I said, you should think about whether you love it. I don't think you do, but, or they want to go against it. I can do whatever I want to do, which isn't productive. So from a psychological standpoint, it's about feeling entitled. And that goes back to childhood wounds and, I didn't have enough, or I always had, and so I am entitled to it. Those are childhood wounds that we have to heal. And so because I'm a psychologist, I can kind of navigate some of those things also. But those tangible things are, like I have a duck on my desk that gives me joy. It's so cute. You know what I mean? And it's, it's just something that I like. I have all kinds of things surrounding me that I like, which is a tangible thing. But I also have learned it is a practice to appreciate, the sun on my face or the rain on my face, So yeah. Makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And I would add on to that, Wendy, as well, as I like to ask, I myself, I like to compare. Right. Mm-hmm. So for instance, my coffee's in the morning versus the cable I never watched, right? Okay. Would I rather have this coffee or just see a bill? I'm going to get that bill in the mail for, I don't have time to watch TV ever. Right. So sometimes it's folks, I would say, want XYZ item, but they are not realizing what that item is replacing. Right. So if I speak to a client and there might be that spending imbalance, right, where there's more going out than going in, and I say, hey, listen, I don't know where we're going to find this X amount of dollars, but are all these things worth pushing back 2 years of retirement, or is it worth pushing back that vacation home you've been trying to save up for? Right. But then they're making the active decision to choose the vacation home or choose whatever that other goal is. And then it becomes much easier to say, you know what? A 2-year-old iPhone isn't that terrible. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but to your point, it's sometimes some folks don't realize what they're giving up because they're locked in that they have that tunnel vision.
Yeah. And it's time, it's energy, like some people respond to, do you know that that iPhone costs you, like you make $30 an hour.
Yeah.
So are you willing to replace 300 hours of your life for this? And I'm asking neutral, because sometimes they're like, hell yeah, I want that. And I'm like, absolutely. Okay, I believe you. So those hours take out of other things, and that money is taking out of other things. So where in your life do you not feel so strongly about? Maybe it is the clothes or the this or the that, and so it is a trade-off. And I think that we are not conditioned to make these trade-offs, to even think about them, because typically parents want their kids to have better than they did. And so they do things that are not quite in their best interests all the time out of love. I'm going to buy them this new iPhone because they might get talked about if they have an old iPhone. Now, I'm probably older than you guys, but I remember my mother saying, like, I don't care what they have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember one funny thing, like the new sneakers came out, whatever the sneakers were back when I was a teenager, and my mother went to like Woolworths. Woolworths is not even in existence anymore, but some like discount store, and it had a W on the back of the sneaker, and she was like, W for Wendy, great, and I was like, oh God,
it's your own custom shoe.
Exactly, it's your own, trying to convince
I've been there, Wendy. I never got the cool shoes.
Exactly, and we turned out okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And I think to a certain extent, we were like, I'm smart, like, you have shoes that someone bought you, I got the money, or you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So, but I mean, it's childhood wounds, it's trauma sometimes, and sometimes it's not that dark. It's just we want things that we think we want, and we don't take the time, the beat, the breath to really check in and see if that's really something that we desire.
That's a good point. And I forgot to double back something, but I'm going to steal that from you next time I speak to a client and they're talking about an expense that they can't. I was like, does this make you dance?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what you said
Love
about
it.
me. I was like, does this make you dance? Like,
you
are
did.
you
We're
wiggling in your
recording
seat?
this, and you should see yourself.
I should go back. So you know what's the funny thing? And this is completely unrelated to anything we're talking about. Ever since I joined this podcast, I have never listened. I've never watched, because I do not like looking at myself. It's just one of those things. I don't like looking at myself. I don't like hearing myself. I was like, I don't know how anyone talks to me, the way I sound. But
everybody loves Jacky P.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah. But anyway, yeah. That's gonna be like, does this make you dance? Like, if it makes you dance, then we're gonna keep it in the lineup. If it doesn't make you dance, we'll put on the next one.
New catchphase for Jacky P.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does this make you dance?
Yeah. I love it.
Well, listen, folks, we have been speaking with Wendy, the queen of everything, and that's your name now. Every now I email you or text you, I'm gonna put QOE, queen of everything.
Love it.
And Doc Mock, we have to take a quick break, and we will be back in just a moment.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? It's Doc Mock here. Many of you are returning to the gym now, but some are not going back. Regardless of what you plan, Rogue has got the right gear to fit your needs. I personally own a barbell set and love it. The Black Ops shorts are sweat resistant and flexible for getting deep in your squats. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/rogue for our referral link. Order 3 items and they ship for free. And as usual, it's Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your pathway to wellness. If you're stuck at home and cannot make it to the grocery store, delivery may be the best way to stay clean and healthy. Instacart is the national leader in the direct-to-home delivery service. With numerous major chains and food from smaller stores, you can get those local veggies sent directly to your doorstep. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/Instacart and maximize your nutrition today.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you were dancing on that break, because we were dancing. So we've been talking, I mean, I feel like we've been across the map. We've been talking about everything and anything, which I enjoy. And I honestly feel like this was the fastest time, one of the fastest hours. Like, we have to have you back for part 2.
Yeah.
But it's the second half. And now we're going to the round robin questions. So Wendy, you know of the 3, but sometimes some hit me, and then I might pull one out of the air, and you just got to
Perfectly fine. Have you met me? I'm ready for anything.
Listen, the queen is always ready. Okay.
Queen everything.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll start with some easy low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
What is the strangest diet you've been on or heard of?
And was it cat food?
It was not cat food. So fun fact, I had gastric bypass surgery and lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And I had the surgery the day before the pandemic shut down the hospital. So
Whoa.
indirectly, that is the craziest diet that I was on, because I was forced to figure it out. Literally,
Wow.
my doctor came in the next morning and said, about that treatment that you were supposed to have for the next 5 days here, you need to get out of this hospital, and I'll be in touch. And I never had any care since then, related to the surgery. So that's, yes, but I'm down 100 pounds and I'm healthy, and thank you. And I'm feeling really wonderful. But that, I would say, is my craziest diet that I have ever experienced.
Wow.
That is, I mean, Doc Mock, as a functional doctor, how, I mean, I just can't even imagine. I mean, I get it. It was all of our first pandemics and things got crazy, but like, I feel like,
I don't even know.
It also speaks to your character, Wendy, of just like figuring it out and just getting it done. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
we're
doing
really
smart. Yeah, you knew where to go for the right information, clearly. So,
and I had planned, like the prior 6 months, I lost 25 pounds on my own. I had planned, there's a psychological review, there's, all these things physically that you have to make sure. But I also had planned to be in the hospital for 5 days as my body started to kind of understand what had happened to this. This is major surgery. This is not my first surgery, but this was a life-changing surgery. And that was kind of abruptly pulled out from under me. But I had people who loved me. My sister lived with me and took good care of me, but I had to figure it out. And so I did. And it was not easy, and I don't want anybody listening to try that mode of doing it, or to think that you could just figure it out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was a unique situation, and we had to do what we had to do. And there were many tears and lots of vomiting because I did not know what I was doing. But it normalized, and here I am, and I am off 8 pills a day and off an injection, and no more high blood pressure, no more diabetes. I do have Hashimoto's, so I still take one little thyroid pill, but and vitamins. That's all I take now, and so I am grateful for that. Grateful.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm so happy to hear that, and it also doesn't surprise me that you just. We call that we're going to call that the figure it out diet, where we should don't tell anyone to do it, right? No one else do it, right? But that was the figure it out diet. Wonderful. All right, moving right along. So, what is your favorite health book, and why?
There was just a book that I was talking about. So Louise Hay. I can't think of. I'm trying to look and see if I could find it, but I will find the exact title. But Louise Hay has a book about how things are connected. So like I have a back injury, and she connects to when your back is not is not working for you or is injured, it's because someone is not supporting you, and it is an amazing book. I cannot remember the title. I'll have to get it for you. And I'm just trying to scan to see if I could find it while we're talking. But it's really about, yes, I think it is Heal Your Body. I think it is Heal Your Body. And it is just an amazing book because it, you know, like I got hit by a car in high school, you know what I mean? And they didn't really do anything about it because I got up, you know, but years later, I had L5S1, there was a chip in that bone there, and it was touching the nerve. But all through, I had back trouble. And when I read this book and it was like, who isn't supporting you? I had to really think about who isn't supporting me? Where am I not getting support? Because your back is what holds you up. So yes, heal yourself or heal your body, something like that. Louise Hay, Hay. That is my favorite health book.
Louise Hay, Heal Your Body.
Heal Your Body. Yes.
Heal Your Body.
Thank you.
Boom.
Cool.
I like that, you know, because everyone knows, and it's no secret, I'm at a standing desk.
Yes.
I've always got some sort of lower back pain. So I got to start talking to people.
Yep.
Who is not supporting me? I'm gonna walk around the house,
Yes.
walk around talking to my friends, send out text messages.
Well,
Which one of you out here?
I think you should
It's not
think,
you.
you should think about it first internally before you go accusing and pointing fingers. But I do understand the action step.
It might be
Who's
Spider-Man.
not supporting me? Is what I'm
It
gonna
might
say.
be Spider-Man back there.
Yeah, it might be. Is it you, Spider-Man?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's a very. I like that. I like that. I'm gonna actually look into that.
Yeah, and you can look up any part of your body or any ailment, or you know, coughing sometimes is about what do you need to say. You know, if you have a sore throat, it's about what have you been holding back from saying. You know, and it makes perfect sense. I got goosebumps again. You know, because it is so logical. You know. And if we can really think about the things, we can heal ourselves in certain ways. I believe in medicine. I believe, you know, in Eastern medicine, Western medicine. And I also believe in the woo-woo of we're all connected, and it's all connected. And sometimes we got to take a look. So that would be my recommendation. That book.
Is she the same? I remember hearing like if like your jaw is clenched, or if then like same thing, like there's something you need to say, but you're like naturally clenching your jaw.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I gotta look into that now.
Yep.
Definitely. Okay.
Cool.
Heal Your Body, Louise Hay. All right.
Yep.
Cool. Next question. Moving right along.
Okay.
Where did I end? Oh,
Who's dancing?
what is
Yeah.
What is your favorite exercise?
So I do have a back injury still.
Mm-hmm.
It is I've had one spinal surgery and they were going to do another one. But you know, we lost the weight and it's doing much better. So the two things that I do regularly are walk and swim. And
Swimming
out here
awesome.
in Vegas, I have a pool, and sometimes I do more sitting in the water, just moving my legs, than actual swimming. But the water helps, you know. But walking. I will get on a treadmill with a book. And my plug for books is the Libby, but books that are free is the Libby app, Libby. It's connected to libraries, and it's just like Audible, but for free. Okay.
Ooh.
Yes.
Hello.
And you support your local library.
Absolutely. Right? Yes.
What?
And I have a library card in New York and a library card in Las Vegas. And so it doesn't matter where you are, if you're checking out the books virtually, and it is supporting your local library, and it is like Audible, but free.
Yeah.
And now, Jacky P, you know my secret of how I read all of these books.
What?
That is
Doc Mock.
Yes.
What? I did. Why am I just? I literally wrote this down because I was like, one, you know, everyone knows who Q is. My theory. I was like, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the Philly library is like the hours are absurd. Yeah. I was like, I always want to go to the library and like just like get some books and just show him like, hey, we go to the library, we get some books, we read them, we bring them back, and it's fun. And he loves books.
Yes.
And same with me. I like to read books too.
Me too. But we're triplets. Oh my God.
Oh, we're triplets. So we are all basically the same person.
Yes.
Like just born in different parts. I also we talked about this before, but I'm also I was born in New York as well, but I was born in
Yes.
Spanish Harlem. So we are
Nice.
all
You got
the
the
same.
We
boroughs
are-
covered.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I love it.
Paleo, keto, vegan, and carnivore. Maybe you've tried them all, but did you have success? Are you still doing that diet? Turns out there's not just one diet right for one particular person. By understanding how your body works and the relationship behind your body's workings and these diets, you can then approach the perfect plan for you. In the Perfect Human Diet course, we talk to you about your body's inner workings and the pros and cons of each plan. We discuss how our ancestors ate and have eaten, and lay a framework to tailoring a plan that is perfect for you. To learn more about the Perfect Human Diet course, head to maximalbeing.com/courses to find out more. And as always, I'm Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your health. You cannot supplement your way to health, but there are things that we need to add to our lives that can maximize our pathway to wellness. The American diet is virtually devoid of omega-3 fatty acids, which play a major role in cardiovascular disease, gut permeability, and mental health. Personally, I take omega-3s every night, and iHerb is the best place for clean, natural sources of supplements. I love the ZenWise omega-3 fatty acid supplement, which is free of fish burps and good for the environment. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/iHerb, that's IHERB, and enter the code B as in boy, D as in dog, B as in boy, 5528, and receive 10% off your orders for all supplements. Maximize your supplements with iHerb.
Moving along, we have time for probably one or two. So
Okay.
we'll start with one. So now we're
off script.
and of course we're off script.
That happens
We're out here.
when I'm around. That
Yeah.
happens.
I love it.
It does.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'd like to
Yes.
know, this is, I don't know, this is, and if you don't have a good answer for this, but I just trying to think, back to like relationships with money, and when you said about like your back and things that are connected, like, can you, of course, protecting folks' privacy, can you think of a time or an instance of someone that there were two drastic connections that you wouldn't think about, right? Where there was like someone had a certain opinion or outlook on maybe not money, maybe it could have been about their health, but the root of it was something that was just, oh, I wouldn't have got, like, no one, typical, train of thought wouldn't have taken you there, right? Because we all know, like those who grew up with excess or without, that kind of builds a trauma, right? But I know sometimes it's, in the things that we do and the people we help, sometimes it's just something that just like, it's connected and you're like, wow, that's an interesting case study.
I think one thing that I can talk about is, along the line of relationships, and this happened with her money also, but we found it talking about relationships. You said, like, if you grow up in trauma, like, that's obvious, like, oh, you might be a little off. But she grew up with two parents who actually did love each other and demonstrated and showed a beautiful, loving relationship. And so what was happening in her relationships was the first sign of any dispute, she was like, I'm done, because that's not the way it's supposed to be done, whereas people who grew up in hell, they're like, I don't want to have a relationship, or you know what I mean?
Ding.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So kind of digging into that you like, whatever you saw doesn't have to be your experience. Talking about the relationship side, then when we got into her money, she was doing things that they were doing also. So her parents would have this wonderful, loving relationship and would kind of spoil each other with money that they didn't really have. And so she began to expect that in her relationships, and she was spoiling herself with money that she didn't really have. Wow. And so it was a really interesting thing when she got to that, and my work is an excavation, like, we're digging to see, because I don't have any, like, oh, I can read you, and because you are a case study and blah, blah, blah. we got to kind of dive in and ask what's going on and how do you feel about that and what happened and what about this and whatever. So that was one that I'm like, ooh, you're good, Wendy. You know what I mean?
Wow, go ahead.
That's
Okay.
really good. Yeah.
Wow,
You
no,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, it was really fascinating.
That
Yeah.
is interesting because, and that's something, you don't have to know anything about anything really, but we always know like, oh, people who are abusive grew up in an abusive household, right?
Mhm.
And people almost mimic what they grew up, but you don't ever would think that someone who grew up in a loving household where the parents show each other love, and then that almost is inflicting like almost a reverse.
Yeah, anything
Right?
overdone, any
Yeah.
strength or weakness overdone is not okay. You know what I mean?
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
and I think the thought is that if you grow up in an abusive household, then you will abuse. There are lots of people who grew up in an abusive household that are like, absolutely not. I would
Mhm.
never. But we don't think about it the other side. You know, we don't think about, we are a product of everything that we learned and everything that we experience. And sometimes we are not conscious of the things that we keep and the things that we do. And so just looking at that, we found this, you know, where there were other people in the group. This happened to be a group thing. And other people in the group were like, oh my God, I wish I had parents that loved each other. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they were almost trying to shame her into feeling bad about that privilege that she had. You know what I mean? And she was like, I almost wish that I had, you know, something to be like, why am I not in a good relationship? Because
Sure.
I had this great mom, you know. So that's really the moral of this, is that we all have to look at our own experiences and make choices. You know, and sometimes we need a little help, but sometimes it is just us, you know, that we're
Yeah.
just kind of stuck here, you know.
But I feel like the fact that you told her that and now she knows it is such a
Yeah.
powerful tool for all future decisions, right?
Absolutely.
She can remodel the future decisions.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It was great.
Well, Wendy, I think it's going to be pretty obvious that you're coming back at some point.
I would
there's-
love to.
We scratched the surface. It's
Yeah.
like the iceberg that hit the Titanic. Like we just hit
There's
the
so
top.
much
There's
more. Yeah.
there's so much more.
I love it.
We didn't really talk about sex. I mean,
We
We didn't
didn't.
talk about
Right?
So
sex.
we
We
just
didn't.
talked about
next time,
condoms.
that's what we're
That's
going to
it,
talk
so.
about. I talked about
Yeah.
condoms, you know, safety and consent. Yes.
Yes.
But we'll talk about sex next time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What that has to do with health, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because women in particular are designed for pleasure. And I will say this, that women's orgasms are the catalyst to creativity and productivity. Men's journey to the orgasm is their creativity and productivity.
Wow.
Huh.
Next
Interesting.
time, Maximal
Next time.
Beings.
Next time. That's a cliffhanger right there. We'll pause there. You have to tune in
Yeah.
next time, everyone
Yes.
listening.
That's right.
Yes.
Spoiler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wendy, where can people find you if they want to consume your amazing content?
Well, I am Wendy Petties, and so it's Petties, and you can find me in Facebook, but I'm known as the Date Your Money Coach on Facebook and Instagram. So that's where you can follow me and find out what I'm doing, you know?
And she's been on a ton of other podcasts and
Yes.
just developed such great content out there. I encourage all of you to listen.
Absolutely.
Jacky P, I had fun. I just like enjoyed the show. I don't know. You guys
is this how you
taught me
feel
a
all the
lot.
time, Doc Mock? When someone's talking about something and you're like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm
But I
Doc
would
Mock and I'm a
argue,
genius.
Jacky, that you know more about medicine than I do about finances and this topic.
Well, Doc, because you're not on the finance podcast.
That's right.
I'm in class every day with you, man.
I love it. I
True.
love it.
Yeah.
No,
For those of you out there,
is very good.
make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment that helps us to get the word out. Jacky P, people are prepping meals at home. That meal prep boot camp is flying off the shelf. So thank you to all of you that are supporting us and maximalbeing.com. If you have a question for any of us or any of our wonderful guests, email us at team@maximalbeing.com. And as always, I'm Doc Mock. I'm here with Jacky P and Wendy Petties, and we are here to maximize your health.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mock here. If you haven't done so already, leave us a comment and hit the subscribe button. Let your friends and family know. That way we can get the word out and continue to bash the bro science.